Hi, my name's Dan, and this video is one in a short series of videos I'm doing on resources and the creation and design of resource mechanics in video games. And I've got to the point where I've been talking about money in games, and I just want to do one short video about real-world money and real-world economy stuff. I am by no means professing to be an economist. I strongly admit that there may be things in here that are not the full truth, and even potentially things where I've got the wrong end of the stick. So beware in that sense. And really, this is a distillation of some of the thoughts that have come in the previous videos, mostly, and a few other things. I'm not going to particularly in this video apply them to video game design. I'm going to let you do that for yourself if you want to. I just want to make a few observations about the way economies and money are in the real world. So here we go. So the first thing is the concept of modern stable currencies, which is kind of what we assume is the normal state of affairs, is actually a fairly recent thing in terms of world history. And there have been times in the past where currencies have been multiple currencies in a country, and when different monarchs come along, you get different currencies being minted, and some of them, despite the fact that they say the same denomination on them, become perceived to be worth more than others. Sometimes that's about the metal content in them, or was about it, and that even further back from quite a loose kind of concept of currency is, barter and other ways of doing transactions. Even now, modern stable currencies are not universal. There are currencies that are not stable. There are currencies where there's more than one currency in a country. There are currencies where there's an official currency, but the actual people who are doing transactions will accept other currencies. There are, countries where, for good reason, shops just take it upon themselves to accept currencies from different countries, just for convenience for tourists. But there's a lot more complexity behind this than you might imagine, or you might see when you're first finding out about money as a child. Obviously, there are things like currency fluctuation, and the relative worth of currencies changes. And this seems like a very strange thing to me, because it doesn't necessarily represent differences in inflation in the different countries, or even deflation. It's just the exchange rates change, and there are all sorts of reasons for that. And there's all sorts of questions about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and it depends on who you are and what you're trying to do. Because if you're in Britain and you're trying to import from America, then it's good if the pound is strong against the dollar. But vice versa, if you want to sell to America, it's good if it's the other way around. And there's the possibility, even now, for collapse and hyperinflation. And every now and again, I go and have a look at information about how things are going in Zimbabwe, which has got ongoing issues with currencies and hyperinflation. It is a thing that can happen and has happened in even reputedly in Germany, just about within people's lifetime. Now there was a huge hyperinflation problem at one point. So, okay, moving on. Money moves. And this is a curious thing about money in real world economy, is that actually, if money doesn't move, it doesn't mean anything. It just stays still, and it's only when it's transacted that it actually has value. And so money that's sitting in a bank account or physical money that's stored under somebody's mattress, proverbially, isn't actually doing anything other than potentially providing a sense of security for the person who owns it. So it's transactions that actually provide worth for money, and their transaction of goods or services. So there are other transactions which potentially cause problems for economies. So a healthy transaction is one where money exchanges hands and in exchange for goods or for services or for something of worth. And when money moves uh, for nothing of worth, then um, that potentially, if there's a large amount of that, undermines the currency. Um, Money is rarely real, and I know that's quite a popular thing for people to say is that money is some kind of shared illusion, or well, it's not really an illusion; it's a shared agreement, really. And obviously, there's a whole load of regulation and stuff around surrounding electronic banking, but money really often these days comes down to a number on a computer, and the money that I have in the bank, I there is no physical place where there is all those coins and those notes, and I don't expect there to be. I expect it just to be a number, but with enough reliance on the bank and the banking system that that isn't just going to suddenly disappear. And um, conversely, they're not going to suddenly increase that number without telling me or without knowing what's going on there. But actually, in lots of ways, money is becoming more and more like game money, in that it's this kind of shared illusion and just a number on a computer somewhere. And we've seen the rise of things that I don't understand, the um, blockchain currency stuff like Bitcoin, that do seem to be worth something in real life, which seems like some kind of crazy talk. But money is odd. I think that's the kind of bottom line. Um, I've talked a lot in the previous videos about sources and sinks and thinking about money systems in terms of where money is created and where money is taken away, either from an individual or from a system. And in the real world, you can still think about money in terms of sources and sinks for individuals. So if I was looking at my own finances, I would be wanting to know where my money is coming from or where my money is going to. And if I was in financial trouble, I'd be looking at trying to deal with the fact that there's this disparity between the two of those. And the same can be true for any kind of financial entity. Um, so things like companies and charities, etc. These things are still true, but not so much for economies. And they're not closed systems, but they become more like closed systems where the same money goes round and round. I guess it could be possible to think in terms of goods and services. I'm talking about worth in terms of economies, rather than think about where money comes in and where money goes out. It's uh, where does value come in and where does value go out? Right, so that's a quick tour of some of my thoughts about real world money and real world economies. As I said, I haven't particularly applied it to video games or video game design at all in this situation. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about the perception of worth for money, which applies both in the real world and in games. So it will be kind of um, crossing that barrier somewhat. But that is it from me for now.